What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. All right, so y'all wanted to test me, and I really don't understand it. I'm a nice guy. I get on here, I try to give you guys some exclusive content, make a couple jokes, do some impressions, but some of you want to push me to the brink. First of all, if you want to talk boxing with me, let's talk facts. Let's talk numbers. Let's talk actual credible sources, things of that nature. Some of y'all don't want to do that. Y'all want to throw someone else's name. What about Marquez, Floyd Mayweather? Now, this is in reference to Manny Pacquiao versus Chris Algieri and his pay-per-view numbers. And reportedly, this is, again, it's not concrete, but it's pretty clear. See, this is the thing. Anytime you're dealing with pay-per-view numbers that are less than expected, it's very hard to gauge because obviously we don't have any form of validating to see what the numbers actually are. So we only can go off of insider information, forecast, and what they release to the public. So a lot of times they inflate the numbers a bit and things like that. But everyone is saying that the Manny Pacquiao Chris Algieri pay-per-view buys are extremely low, the lowest of Manny Pacquiao's career. So here's a quick article of it talking about it. And again, boxing matchmaker and professional loud voice Rick Glazer has been the only entity with insider reach to even comment publicly on the subject, writing this in a tweet. Hearing Pacquiao-Algieri pay-per-view numbers are very disappointing. To the point, Top Rank slash HBO hasn't released a number and may not. He followed up by saying, "Wow, horrible. Pacquiao pay-per-view reputedly did just over 300 buys, and it's the lowest Manny pay-per-view figure since becoming a superstar. Hashtag boxing." Now, again, it is very hard to validate any kind of numbers based on the fact of I don't work for HBO, I don't work for Top Rank. So if you guys have a connection to any of those people where you can reach out and get an official statement from Todd, from Bob Arum, please do it. But again, the reason why I believe these numbers to be true is because one, it was a mismatch from the jump. Like I told y'all, I said Chris Algieri was getting fucked up. So it's really not much of a surprise. But some of you guys want to wish upon a star that the numbers were better. Face facts. Pacquiao fought an opponent that most didn't know of, and the numbers are most likely low. You know what I'm saying? People want to bring, oh, but what about Robert Guerrero? Fine, you want to bring up Mayweather Guerrero? Guess what? The fight, I don't think they released the official number on that fight either. But the forecast and the what we are hearing, the rumors, if you will, similar to this one, was not 300 fucking thousand. You know what I'm saying? It just wasn't. It was something higher. It was, I don't know, it had to be 600, 650 plus. You know what I'm saying? And we have to keep in mind, put facts with facts. That when you talk to me, talk facts. Robert Guerrero, if you do remember this, the fight with Mayweather, there was no tour. Mayweather didn't go on tour. Robert Guerrero went on tour by himself. He was on Christian networks and channels. They didn't have like a tour date like he did with Canelo or like he did with Maidana, where they go to Chicago, New York, Texas, California. You know what I mean? They didn't do that with the Guerrero fight. Guerrero, he said, if you even watch, I think on the All Access, Mayweather specifically said, "Oh, I'm used to this, blah blah blah. I'm used to the fame, so I'm gonna give Robert Guerrero an opportunity to see what it's like to have tons of interviews and you know what I mean, live the superstar life." He didn't even do that, so no wonder. And that was his first fight on a new network. So I mean, if the numbers weren't that good, that's to be expected. They didn't even promote the fight right. Pacquiao-Algieri was promoted. I think they did promote it. They were in Macau, China. They were in my neck of the woods. They came to San Francisco. They went to LA. And I don't know all the tour dates, but they went to different various locations. Vegas, I believe. And they were promoting the fight. There were a lot of videos from YouTube on up covering the fight. Top Rank, that's one thing they do. They cover their fights pretty well. Brandon Rios, the same thing. Macau, China, they were in Macau. They had pictures with Yao Ming and shit, and they're on the Great Wall of China walking up. You know what I mean? They cover the event pretty well. They send all their staff, the Christina Punchers and everything. And you want to compare that to a Robert Guerrero, that fight still did better numbers on a new network than this fight did. Face facts. Now, by telling you, and I know I'm going to make some people mad, but I don't give a fuck. I speak fact. I will have to make this disclaimer. My disclaimer is this. by these pay-per-view numbers, I am not saying in any way that I don't want to see Mayweather versus Pacquiao, because that's bullshit. The fight has been overdue and is getting to the point where if it doesn't happen soon, nobody's going to even care anymore. So, despite these piss poor pay-per-view numbers, the fight still needs to happen off principle, just because us fans have been waiting and waiting and waiting. But again, some people want to make all kinds of excuses and, oh, what about Mayweather Maidana? It still had a better turnout. And again, I think it's just getting to the point between streaming and the fans. They're not really trying to see that. Like, that's like them putting Rod Salka, Danny Garcia on pay-per-view. Nobody would have bought that bullshit, straight up. And I think that's what it's becoming. Pay-per-view, it's getting, people are getting tired. One, they're doing too many fucking pay-per-views per year. You know what I mean? They're talking about Canelo's fighting 3 times, and they were supposed to all be pay-per-view. I remember Maidana Broner, Keith Thurman was on the card with Jesus Soto Caras. That was supposed to be a pay-per-view, even though Broner had never headlined a pay-per-view by himself. And then they ex-nayed that idea. That was last December last year. And it's just so many. There's a lot. Motherfuckers don't have money for that. And if they do, let it be a good competitive match. You know what I'm saying? Triple G versus Canelo, Miguel Cotto versus Canelo, Pacquiao Mayweather. Those are the types of fights that are built up, they're festered, they have 2 stars, and they're competitive. People want to see those types of fights, myself included. And I'll be frank, I didn't buy Mayweather. I went to my brother's for Mayweather Maidana Part 1. He got that. And then the second one, I was like, I'm not paying for this shit. I didn't even want to see it. Like, I was like, I'll watch it, you know what I'm saying? Just to give me something to do because I appreciate the sport and so I can cover it. But I wasn't beckoning for that because I thought Mayweather won the first fight. But some people didn't. So you gave Floyd an out. You gave him an opportunity to rob the bank twice. Had people shut the fuck up and said nothing and say, oh, it was a good competitive fight, it was a more action-packed fight than we're used to seeing Floyd in, and kept it pushing, then we might have seen him fight Amir Khan and win or lose or whatever the outcome of that fight is in September. But no, people with their hating remarks gave Floyd the opportunity to rob the bank twice and con him and get more money out of the same fight with a worse outcome. The first fight by far was more entertaining. You know what I mean? Maidana did land that good punch at the end of the round 3, but by and large, the first fight was more of a dynamic. Floyd got the cut. Maidana came in extremely heavy. In this fight, the second fight, he wasn't as heavy. He just looked kind of lethargic. He wasn't as aggressive. And Kenny Bayless was breaking him up early. And you know what I'm saying? It just, the first fight was better. But people hated and gave Mayweather the opportunity to fight someone. He already learned his quirks in the first fight, which I told you. Some people are like, no, this is going to be Tarver and Jones part 2. This is this. He's going to get knocked out. Maidana, China, ole, ole, China, and all this shit. And then it wasn't happening. Then you go back and revert to talking shit. Oh, this is a bullshit fight. It's been a bullshit fight, but y'all requested it based on y'all hate. Same thing with Pacquiao-Algieri. People just don't want to see those types of fights. Had, I told you in my last video, if Pacquiao fought Broner, even though I don't think Broner deserves a Pacquiao shot, it would have done better numbers because Broner's a loudmouth. He could trash talk. He could sell it up. People know Broner without even being linked to Pacquiao. People don't really know Chris Algieri. I barely even knew Chris Algieri going into the Ruslan Provodnikov fight. You know what I'm saying? So he wasn't a household name, anything of the sort. People know him based on Pacquiao for the most part. They're like, oh, who's this Algieri dude? Oh, he's fighting Pacquiao? That's how they knew him. People know Broner outside of Pacquiao. So fights like that, Amir Khan, Danny Garcia, all those fights are more credible, and they all have a bigger fan base, I would say, than Chris Algieri. Now, another thing, let's talk about business, because some of y'all leaving excuse after excuse about why the numbers, the pay-per-view numbers were low with this given fight. Now, they're like, oh, let's see Floyd fight in Macau, China against a white guy on a non-Mexican holiday. First of all, Floyd is a businessman, so I don't think he would do that because there was no money in this fight to begin with, and it's not really a fight that makes any noise. I don't think he will stoop that low on the totem pole, to be honest, to fight a white American in Macau, China, at a catch weight when he barely squeaked by Ruslan Provodnikov. So you got to give credit to Floyd Mayweather for being a smart businessman. No one told Pacquiao to fight in China. This motherfucker is from New York. Why didn't you make this fight at Radio City Music Hall like you did Nonito Donaire versus Rigondeaux, or make it at Madison Square Garden, even better, bigger venue? He's from New York. So if you want, you know what I mean, the outcome would have been the same, in my opinion. Pacquiao still would have ran through him if they fought in outer space. You know what I'm saying? It don't matter where they fought, but at least you can get some of his local fans to jog up the numbers, possibly because you're fighting in his hometown, so they can actually see their person. Or even Atlantic City, like New Jersey or something. Give the Jersey crowd an opportunity to see Pacquiao. But no, you went all the way to Macau, China. And another thing is when you're fighting in different areas like Macau, China, there's different time zones. You got to fight in the morning, or the people in the UK got to stay up till 4 a.m. to watch the fight, and it's crazy. Versus fighting in the States, I think people in different areas, London and Ireland or wherever they're at, they get kind of used to watching fights at a certain time if they're broadcast in the States. So I think it was a poor business decision to pick this opponent to begin with, which is something I've always maintained on my channel. In addition to that, the location didn't really suit it. You're picking a guy that the world doesn't really know by and large, and then you're having it overseas. And I don't know, maybe they thought because Lomachenko and Olympians and shit were on it, Zhao Shiming and shit, that it wouldn't be a bad fight. But it's not just about the undercard. It's about who's on the undercard. Because I felt the same way with both Mayweather, Maidana undercards. You had some stars on it. You had some names, but they weren't really the fights we wanted to see. Like you had Amir Khan and Broner on the first Mayweather-Maidana fight. Cool. To the naked eye, it looks cool. But you had Broner fighting Carlos Molina and Amir Khan against Collazo. I would have rather seen Broner versus Khan. You know what I'm saying? That, to me, that would have been spectacular. And it would have been meaningful. So the guys that Zhao Shiming, who the fuck is that? You know what I mean? The Pacquiao clone or whatever. The guy Lomachenko hurt his hand like punching around the damn ring. Who was he? You know what I'm saying? Nobody knew him. So it's not much of a mystery to me why the numbers are low. And then the last thing, some people are like, oh, the numbers aren't bad and shit like that. Let's do the math. This fight is being reported at, and I like to give y'all with facts, hit y'all with the facts. This is being reported at about 300, like barely getting over 300. Now, you look at Canelo Alvarez versus Alfredo Angulo. Keep in mind, both of these fighters were coming off of losses. Canelo's loss to Mayweather, and Angulo, El Perro, his loss was to Erislandy Lara. And then this is from ESPN Boxing. Shout out to Dan Rayfield. And look at it. Showtime and Golden Boy Promotions announced that pay-per-view generated well over 350,000 buys for Alvarez's one-sided 10th round KO of Angulo, right? So that fight, I mean, it was a little bit more exciting, but it was exciting to see Canelo open up, but Angulo didn't really make it a fight. So that's an example of a one-sided fight, and Canelo still had his people and all his fans backing him. You know what I'm saying? And the fight turned out to be pretty one-sided. Then you look at Timothy Bradley versus Marquez. A lot of people are like, oh, Bradley's not a household name. And it's funny, y'all flip-flop. When Bradley fights Pacquiao in the first fight, and then it's controversy and he wins, people say, oh, there's no money in a rematch. Why should we see that? He's not a star. Things like that. You shit on Bradley. And then Pacquiao chooses Bradley, and then you give credit to Pacquiao for beating him. You're like, oh, he was undefeated, though. So a lot of you guys flip-flop. You talk shit and down Bradley. Like, go check my videos. I've never talked shit about Bradley in terms of him being a piss-poor fighter or shitty fighter or anything. I said he fought dumb, and I feel that way. He fought dumb in the Ruslan-Provodnikov fight, and I think his own coach, Joel Diaz, even knew that. But I don't do what some of y'all do. Some of y'all, to make your case, you'll shit on it. You'll say Floyd Mayweather's garbage, or you'll laugh at Floyd not cracking $1 million. And then when Pacquiao, a fighter you may like, does the same thing, but even worse, you know what I mean? He barely gets over 300, reportedly. Then you make a ton of excuses. But anyway, Marquez Bradley. So the numbers of buy is between 375,000 and 390,000, Aram said. And it depends a lot on stuff, blah, blah, blah. So he said it will definitely hit 375,000. And even a few months later, we'll still get additional buys to come in. So that's another example of another fight that was pay-per-view that did better than what is being reported for Pacquiao-Algieri. And again, it was because these are all, to the at least on paper, they were more competitive matches. Bradley versus Marquez, I thought that was a real good chess match. I mean, it didn't turn out to be the most exciting fight. It was still cool, but it wasn't the most exciting. But on paper, they're both respectable talents in the sport of boxing. And even Canelo versus Angulo, I wanted to see it because I thought Angulo, with his power and how he was looking against Erislandy Lara, knocking him down twice, I thought he might be able to give Canelo a run for his money, possibly hurt Canelo, even though that didn't happen. So that's basically what I had to say. Give me facts. Don't talk about what if. And if you want to throw one fighter under the bus, then throw the other fighter on the bus when he doesn't, when he comes up short too. Let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like my video. As always, hate, comment, or subscribe. Till next video is Ego signing off.